Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Clean Energy Alliance Community Advisory Committee regular meeting, April 10th, 2025. And we will start, I'm calling it to order at 1 p.m. And now roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Committee Member Graywall. Member Dominguez.
Present.
Member Najee.
Yeah.
Member Daniels.
Present.
Member Oshley.
Present.
Member Reed.
Present.
Member Davenport.
Here.
Member Norris.
Present.
Member Hood.
Here.
Member Jameson. Here. Chair DeCino. And Chair Shade.
Here. And then with that, I would like to ask Member Tracy Reed to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And are there any public comments?
We do have a speaker, Marco Marola.
Thank you.
Community Advisory Committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Marco Marola, and I'm an associate at Participate Energy LLC, the structured finance partner of Solar Plus, and a proud San Diego County resident. I know this committee in the past has voiced an interest in expanding the offerings of solar and battery storage to income qualified customers. So I'm excited to announce share the news of a brand new program, Solar Plus Connect. With Solar Plus Connect, income qualified CEA customers can receive a state-of-the-art behind-the-meter microgrid for a blended rate of 7 cents per kilowatt hour of solar production. For context, the standard Solar Plus offering comes out to between 18 and 22 cents blended rate, depending on system size. So Solar Plus Connect marks a substantial discount. Customers will receive the benefits of the typical Solar Plus offering, rooftop solar and a Tesla's Powerwall at no upfront cost and no credit check or underwriting. This program has been made possible by the Residential Solar and Storage Equity Program, which is a pool of $280 million under the Self-Generation Incentive Program, administered by the CPUCs and the IOUs for the sole purpose of deploying solar and energy storage systems for income qualified Californians. While $280 million may seem like a lot of funding, this is for the entire state. And our team anticipates that this will only be enough funding for roughly 6,000 systems. For context, California has over 6 million care customers. So we anticipate this program will be oversubscribed and funding will go quickly. PE as an inside sales team and generated traditional marketing assets to pre-sell the program as the funding is currently on pause. This team will make outgoing calls, field incoming leads, income verify, sign Solar Plus customer agreements, and draft applications in the SCHIP portal to be submitted as soon as the funding is made available. It should be noted that PE will utilize 100% of SCHIP funding directly to financing systems, and Solar Plus Connect agreements nullify themselves if funding is not secured. So customers have no risk of having to finance the systems themselves. Solar Plus Connect is a unique, fantastic program, but we anticipate that it will sound much too good to be true. So we'd like to ask you, the Community Advisory Committee, to take an active role in spreading the word. PE intends to work with community leaders and incentivize local organizations to spread the word about this exciting opportunity and stress the importance of moving quickly to secure as much funding for CEA customers as possible. You can find program details on the CEA website under programs or email solarplus@Participate Energy for more information. Customers can speak to program advisors in English or Spanish by calling 888-8-HAPPY-8. I'll take your questions now. Thank you.
Okay, before we start with questions, I just want to make sure, are we allowed to? It's not an
Yes.
agenda item.
Thank you, Chair. That is just what I was going to say,
Okay.
is that unfortunately, questions are prohibited by the Brown Act, but
Yeah.
maybe if the CEO during his report has related items, if the commission would like to ask questions at that time of the CEO, that would be appropriate then.
Yes, so.
Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for coming to speak with us and sharing that information. I do believe, since it's on our website, it is linked. We're going to have Greg address that during, at some point in his remarks. I did want to say, before we move on, that we had asked at our last meeting that we have an opportunity on the agenda for comments, and from us at the end. I don't know, maybe we need to sidebar on that later because I don't see it on the agenda for today. Say that one more time. Go ahead.
8888 happy 8. HAPPY. Yes. And I'll also stick around and have business cards if you guys want to submit your questions in writing.
Okay, all right, and you can leave a stack of those to be handed out also as well if you want to do that, okay? All right, thank you. So with that, we move on to,
Can I make a comment?
yeah,
I just wanted to, I guess, bring up to the board and to our CEO. I've been kind of watching my bill lately, since I've just been with the group for about a year now at home. And what I really noticed is that 60% of my bill, and I've got a pretty good solar system at home, 60% of my bill is distribution. I don't see how any of these programs that we're doing is going to be successful when I'm generating pretty much the power that I need, but I'm paying 60% of my bill every month is going for distribution. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there, that I think something needs to be done regarding the distribution costs. And I know they're actually submitting documentation now to increase their profit to even a higher percentage. So I don't see how any of these programs can be successful when somebody of my nature and size of solar is paying 60% of my bill to distribution.
okay, thank you. I'm going to hold on any other comments. I think some of that may come up in Greg Wade's report. And again, I did ask for an item so that some of these things could be brought in front of the group. So we'll be discussing that. But let's hold that thought. I think that's great to share. But let's move on to the executive officer report or update, item number 1. Greg?
Thank you, Chair Shade and members of the Community Advisory Committee. This is the CEO report for this meeting. Just a brief update on there we go. Did I advance too far? Sorry. An update on the Vista and Oceanside enrollment. Pre-enrollment for all customers has now been concluded. So all notices have gone out to the last remaining net energy metering customers. We've been enrolling approximately 1,800 NEM customers per month over the last 12 months. And the statistics as of February 28th are shown below. You can see there that we've got a total of 6,485 opt-outs out of 113,169 eligible customers for a 94.3% participation rate for both agencies. This shows the enrollment stats for all our member agencies. You can see, I won't go into detail about the numbers for each, but you can see the different enrollment statistics for each of our 3 products, Clean Impact Plus, and Green Impact. As you can see, we're up to 251,772 total customers in our base default rate, Clean Impact Plus. Wanted to break this out in terms of the member agencies, so you can see the breakdown there. That's helpful to see. You can see the various participation rates of each member agency and the grand total of 93% participation rate. You can see the total active customer, including Green Impact and Green Impact, Clean Impact Plus, and Clean Impact is at 253,465. Wanted to announce that we are actively working on our battery bonus program. This is something that has come up at this committee in years, the last year, at least since I've been here. This is otherwise called a residential battery retrofit program. We solicited proposals, received them in January. We shortlisted them to 2 respondents and conducted interviews in early March, and we're currently in negotiations and preparation of those contracts to bring forward. We expect them to come to the board, if possible, in this month's meeting, if not in May. And this is a program that we're quite excited about to help those who have solar but don't have a battery to get that key element that can definitely help in terms of energy costs for our customers. We've also been working on a commercial and industrial CNI solar plus storage behind the meter program rather. So we issued a request for proposals. The program is designed for commercial and municipal accounts and would deploy solar and batteries, or also an option to just have batteries for those entities or companies or institutions who already have solar. This would enhance our peak load management strategies, increase load resiliency and grid reliability, and obviously support grid health. The submissions are all due by April 14th of this month, so we're excited to get that underway. Here's the schedule for that solicitation. Again, the key date there is coming up April 14th for submission of these proposals. Wanted to highlight once again our Green Impact Champions program, which we launched in March of last year. We've sent letters to our residential and commercial customers. We provide promotion on our CEA website, their logo, website link. We have social media announcements recognizing the business or customer. We do require a release to participate in that activity. And right now we have 8 active champions representing just over 320 accounts. And here are the logos of those Green Impact Champions. Happy to say that 3 of our member agencies are on the list: the City of Vista, City of Del Mar, and City of Solana Beach. And my understanding is the City of Carlsbad is actively working on becoming one of our Green Impact Champions. So we look forward to hopefully that happening soon. The staff has still been quite involved in getting out to the community. We've had participated in several community events. Here's a listing of those events. I won't read them all, but still very active in getting out into the community. And here are the list of events that this is a very busy month. Obviously, it's Earth Day this month and Earth Month. So we accepted a proclamation on behalf of CEA at the City of Vista City Council meeting this week in recognition of Earth Month. And here are some of the events that we'll be attending this month. The Solar Plus update is before you here. We have 14 active and 4 complete contracts as of the end of March. You can see here the breakdown by our member agencies. And as was just announced, we are rolling out our Solar Plus Connect portion of our Solar Plus program, where the self-generation incentive program is going to be utilized to assist income eligible applicants for this program at a substantially reduced cost for battery plus solar projects. So hopefully we'll get some activity there as well. And I also wanted to report on this that the staff is working hard to bring on our channel partners, which we've already got some online, and I know we're actively working on getting a couple other this week enrolled so that we can broaden our scope of contractors that are eligible to provide or construct on behalf of us for this program. And that would also, as we've talked about in the past, allow us to enroll customers with tile roofs, for example. We also have Spanish-speaking contractors who will be brought into the program and help us to reach some of the more difficult-to-reach customers who might be eligible for the program. Wanted to highlight a project, set of projects, actually. This is something that is a very important aspect of our of CCAs in general, and of course of our program planning, and that is that the board at its last meeting approved power participation agreements and energy storage agreements with Luminia Solar for a set of 25 sites for solar under 20-year PPA agreements. So for new renewable energy generation, and then 10-year energy storage contracts for storage at 4 sites, both of which would provide 20 megawatts of solar generation and 20 megawatts of 4-hour battery storage. You can see the map there. There are 2 storage sites in Vista, one in Forest Ranch and one in Boulevard. We have been closely involved in helping with the site selection in terms of providing them in safe commercial or business park areas away from residential, if at all possible, and these sites meet those objectives. And so we're happy to start getting underway with some of these projects. And that concludes the CEO presentation.
All right, are there any questions on this part of the page?
I'm trying to see the website on my phone that doesn't work too well, but is there a single page that lists all our programs that are out there on the
There
website?
is on our website, I believe we have our page that lists all our programs.
Okay. And so the Lumina local solar, the last slide that you had,
Mhm.
are those under construction? Are you just
No.
contracting with existing?
No, they're not under construction. They will be under construction.
Okay.
So we're going to execute agreements for each of those
Okay.
facilities.
Okay, I'll stop for now.
I did, because I did discuss the Solar Plus battery program, and that was part of what was discussed in the opening comments. As far as a question about delivery costs, I don't know if now is the time to bring that up, but they can be reduced by Solar Plus battery. I'm not sure, Mr. Reed, if you have a battery as a part of your program, your facility, but delivery costs can be reduced. And so I'm not familiar with the nuances of your usage or the way your battery is dispatched, but I will say it definitely is not a surprise that the lion's share of your bill is on delivery. However, the Solar Plus battery can reduce your delivery charges. Again, without getting into the specifics of the account, it's hard to know exactly how that is affecting you as a customer.
Okay, Linda?
You said that the microgrids are going to be behind the meter,
Yes.
and that means that we don't use SDG&E?
We use SDG&E, however, it doesn't require connection to the grid directly for the system.
So the generation will be us, and the
the
distribution will be us.
Not the distribution, no. It still goes through the distribution network, but the facilities are.
Have them in front of the meter then, so that we don't have to pay for that stupid distribution that we're talking about?
You still have to pay for distribution even if they're front, but what makes them challenging to put them in front of the meter is the interconnection process that you have to go through SDG&E to make sure that the capacity is there.
They're going to keep on raising their costs and raising their costs. My bill's the same way. Almost 75% of my bill is distribution. I'm sick of it. $200 a month I've had for the last 3 months. And I have solar.
Okay, Mika and then Daniel.
My question is, so there are lots of programs rolling out. That is exciting. Are there any programs for rental owners? Because Solana Beach recently approved ADU. And I am expecting ADU can be rental unit similar to the rental unit, or maybe independent resident. At this point, it is not clear to me, but so the residential is covered, commercial is covered. But how about those rental unit owners or rental unit resident or maybe ADU resident? Are there any programs targeting them?
Not currently. We are exploring that option. There are challenges at play there, as you noted. The property owners typically who you would work with, and whether that's an ADU configuration or multiple family apartments. How you meter those is a question. We're also looking at the possibility of mobile home parks and how they might be able to benefit. As of yet, we don't have a program, but we are exploring the opportunity because we know that that's a market that is underserved by solar energy for sure.
Yeah, so there, I would like to know it because so Solana Beach City approved ADU construction. The resident of those little unit will increase, so they may need to have an option available for them. So.
Okay, thank you. Daniel?
Yes, Daniel Dominguez, Oceanside, representative from Oceanside. I have a couple of questions on the Solar Plus program. Is that a lease program or an actual ownership program of the batteries and solar panels?
Thank you for the question. I don't know that I'd characterize it as a lease program, but it is a program where the customer does not initially own the system. So we are placing it, they are allowing the placement of the system on their home or their roof. And then they take advantage of a reduced energy cost, a flat energy cost across the year, as well as a reduced battery cost. And over time, however, they do have an option in the agreement to purchase the facility. So initially, it is not owned by the resident. It is operated and managed by PE and CEA. CEA is the off-taker. We take the energy from PE as our partner.
The next question is, who controls, where there's a battery system, who controls the discharging of the battery? And I say that from some personal experience. I have a solar panels, a battery, and so the key to the battery is discharging during high time of use rates. And so, but I've run into problems because the solar panels were installed by an installer. The inverter is Solar Edge, the batteries are LG. And so I've asked like for control to change my time of use, and I get this from everybody. You know, the installer says, well, you got to talk to the inverter people. The inverter people say, oh, you got to talk to the battery people. And the battery people say, you got to talk to the installer. So my question is, when these batteries are installed and they're owned, who's going to control the time of use? Because that is really critical to reducing your rates, because you sell the energy at the high time of use rates.
So in answer to your question, the systems that would be installed under this program would be fully integrated so that they would be the issue that you're running into with different providers, different infrastructure, different brands that we would not expect to encounter with this program. It is a combined, as far as I'm aware, and I'd ask Rob or our partner Marco, who's here today, to respond more clearly about the dispatch is control. We have some management control over the dispatch of the battery to make sure that it's providing energy at peak demand. And so, but the customer also has some interface into that as well. They have a platform under which they can use the battery during peak demand times as well. So I would say it's a combination of the both. So, but our objective is to program it to make sure that it is discharging during our peak demand time, namely from 4 to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
All right, I have Roger next and then Dolores.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to go back. We were talking a couple minutes ago about behind the meter, microgrid systems. And my understanding is if you've got the battery and the solar behind the meter, any self-use won't be charged distribution charges by SDG&E. It's only when you're sucking off the grid that you have to pay that. Is that a correct understanding?
I believe that is correct. However, there are still set distribution charges per month. So you're still going to have a distribution charge, even if you're a surplus generator.
Right, that's the $12 a month
Yeah.
or something?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just was wondering, with the introduction of the Solar Plus Connect, which has income restrictions, is the other Solar Plus going away?
No.
No?
No. It's
Okay.
a supplement to that.
Okay, okay. And is there, do you happen to know offhand, like, how long, does a commitment have to require so many months before you have the ability to purchase?
I believe is it 6 years? Why don't you?
Is this one, this one's working? Yes, community advisors, the system, when you have the Solar Plus and you get the credits require a 5-year where you're enrolled in the program. Now, you can purchase at any time, but because of the credits, there will be a fine for going if you purchase within the first 5 years. After the 5 years, then it's no problem. You can make the purchase.
You have more of an incentive then to buy it at that point. Okay, okay.
Okay, just can you put your name on the record? Because I want to make sure everybody knows who you are.
Oh, Rob Howard, I'm a Key Accounts Program Manager here on staff at CEA.
Thank you. Any other questions? It looked like there was some follow-up from our relationship with our public speaking presentation. So if this would be a good time to ask Greg about that. And yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just had a question about the Lumina, the storage project. Are they self-generating or are they feeding off the grid during off-peak, super off-peak, and then dumping during peak demand?
Thank you for the question. Are you referring to the battery portions of their
Yes.
projects?
Yes.
So they're off the grid. Those are just the battery storage. Those are feeding off the grid. They're not feeding off generation. Generation sites are separate.
Okay.
Sorry.
So they're going to charge the batteries at night and dump during the daytime, right? So the difference for their profit is between super off-peak and peak. Or are they charging the battery with their own solar?
There is, there is midday charging of the battery. Sorry. So the midday charging and then they're distributing on peak.
And that's their cycle?
Or discharging on peak.
Got it.
Yes.
So they're not generating?
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I wondered for the new program, the Solar Plus Connect, do you have an anticipated date when that funding will be available? And should people also start submitting applications so they'll get in the queue?
On the Solar Plus Connect?
Yes.
Yes, that's active right now. If you go to the website, you can apply right now.
Okay, but the funding's not available yet, correct? I see him nodding. Okay, thank
So
you. The
May
other
20th,
question.
yeah, so the funding is still being delayed.
Okay, thanks. The other question I had, which kind of relates to a couple of other things, is that I know sometimes it's hard for customers to figure out which time of use program to use, and we got questions about battery and when to discharge, whatever. We don't have the capability of mentoring our customers to tailor their use of their battery or whatever system that they have to advise them on how best to keep their rates low, do we? There's no way of doing that currently?
My understanding is as part of the program, there are set battery settings that will allow you to do that. So there's a suite of settings that come with the battery that you can utilize.
Okay.
And so there will be some limited guidance as to how to utilize the battery.
I'm talking about customers in general, whatever their system or that they have or don't have, like how do they figure out? It would be nice, I think, to help them lower their bills by having some advice on, okay, this is your setup. You know, you should best do this to keep your bills low. And I don't think that's available to them right now. Is that correct?
Not a program that we actively provide, but we are, as part of this agenda, providing an energy programs plan for your
Okay.
review that could
That
be
needs to be on
something
it.
that we'll work on.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Tracy?
Yeah, I can talk about my program, and luckily I went with one first company for everything. The products may be different, but mine has got a really good app that I can program it in. You put in the SDG&E program, and it gets you all the time scheduling right there. What I did, over the 6 months at a time, I was changing around some of the time settings. But right now, I see the most efficient for me is that I go to the battery when I'm not producing. So in the summer, I don't even go to the battery until it's sunset, and I'm almost past the prime hours. Right now, I'm on the battery till I'm going to bed at night, and still have some left over. So I'm lucky that I can say it's all built into the app. You just put in the SDG&E program, and it goes on from there.
Nice.
Okay, I think that concludes our questions on that part of your report. I think go ahead. Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Thank you. Rob said that the program that we've been talking about has a 5-year commitment. What happens if somebody commits and needs to move after 2 years?
Thanks for the question. Not a 5-year commitment. The Solar Plus program has a 25-year agreement with a 5-year option on the end. You can go up to 30 years with that program where you have the set rates with the escalator. What I was saying was when the question that I was referencing was the purchase of the system. And then there are tax credits and other liabilities associated with the system where you can purchase it at any time, but it's 5 years before there's no penalty for the purchase.
Oh. Much helpful. Thank you. Do we have any plans for balcony solar and other things that for multi-tenant housing?
We don't have any plans for it as yet, but that is something that we are looking at as part of all our program objectives for rentals and multifamily.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. And are we moving to the budget item? Is that part of your report? I do have, before you get started, I just want to make sure we didn't have any public comments. I do have some notes that will be referenced from Member Dominguez when he makes his comments at the end. So I'll pass those around right now.
I will note that there was not any public speakers for item 1. And just, I
There's
want to make sure
copies.
that the
There's
clerk
copies
gets a
for you.
copy.
So the information that's being passed out to the CAC members, the public can review that with the clerk.
Okay. That was from our member, not the public. So he came to me as chair and asked, he has communicated with CEA about the documents. And he was just providing copies.
Thank you. So I was just letting the public know
Oh,
that
the
if
public.
the public
Okay.
wants to review what was passed out, they can
It'll
do that with
be
the clerk.
online.
There's a copy.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. The next item here is just a review of our budget through the mid-year and then an outlook for the rest of the fiscal year. Sorry, the last item will be a review of our JP Morgan line of credit. So it might be a little bit difficult to see this, but this is our performance through December 31st of this year, or last year rather. You can see there in the yellow highlighted and red circle, the change in net position ended up at $14.3 million over budget. So at $45.2 million, where the budget had projected almost $31 million. Keep in mind that we did start the year with a beginning net position of negative almost 17 million based on the exceedingly high cost of renewable energy last year, or energy in general, as well as under generation, not under generation, but lower than forecast load. And this just highlights what I just showed you, that our revenues were $8.1 million higher than budgeted. That usage was down a bit. However, it was 4% higher during the months of July through September, where customer rates are slightly higher. On the expense side, we were 4% below budget, with energy costs lower than budgeted so far. And our non-energy costs were about 4% above budget, mostly related to timing of those costs. And again, as I mentioned in the prior slide, the change in net position is $14.3 million higher than expected of our budget at $45.3 million. Looking through to the end of this fiscal year, at the end of June, you can see our change in net position is projected to be $37.2 million, where budgeted at $33.3 million. So that's a net positive of $3.9 million. And we expect to end the year at a positive net position of $20.2 million. Again, remembering that we started the year at a deficit of close to $17 million. This just summarizes the chart you just looked at. Again, our revenues are expected to be about $4.8 million, or 4% higher than our projected full year budget. And our expenses are projected to be close to budget. And the change in net position, as I mentioned, is expected to be at $37.2 million, which was higher than our $33.3 million projected change in net position. So it is less favorable in the second half of the year. You can see we went from a change of net position at the end of December of about $45 million down to 37.2, and that's due to the downtime, as it were, for these months ending the winter rates and going into June. So our JP Morgan line of credits, our covenants were established at we met both the covenants of 9/30, our quarterly covenants of September 30th and December 31st, and we're on track to comfortably meet the covenants going forward. Our current credit line expires in January of 2026. We are actively in negotiations, actually have completed negotiations to extend that line of credit from January 2026 to February 2nd of 2029, pending the board's approval later this month. And as you can see there, we have metrics required. The DSCR's debt service coverage ratio, where our covenants require us to have a 1.0 debt service coverage ratio. And then DLOH is days liquidity on hand, 45 days. And as you can see, moving through the quarters there, December 31st, March 31st, June 31st, and September 31st of this year, we comfortably meet those targets. So we are planning to present the draft budget to the board at the end of May, and then have the board take action on the budget at their June 26th board meeting for final approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell us what percent we have in reserves right now, or approximately?
The reserves are basically our net position. So that's our reserve, if you will.
And has the board discussed or planning to discuss using some of our reserves to lower rates for customers?
We expect them to do that, and then not only at this meeting in April, but in the May, when we discuss the budget in May and June. It has come up, well, we did have a discussion in the fall on a PCIA reduction discussion, but based on the amount of funds available and our JPA covenants, which require an allocation of the program funds based on load of each member agency, the amount of money available, which is not substantial, would not go very far in terms of reducing rates. So that reserve would not support, at least in my estimation, a rate. There's no rate stabilization fund, if you will. They haven't recommended it. They haven't directed us to form one, but the amount of money just for, the budget this year allocated 600,000 to programs. The budget next year allocates 2 million to programs. Even at 2.6 million, you're not going to look spread across, even if we spread it equitably across all our member agencies, it would be exceedingly low in terms of any kind of rate impact.
So all the programs we currently offer are all done in partnership with like Participate Energy, and there's no out-of-pocket from us.
Correct. All our programs so far are self-funded
Okay,
and partner-funded.
thank you.
Yeah, Roger Davenport from Oceanside. Does this mean that we've paid off all of our startup loans and everything, so we're actually in the black now?
Yes, that's what it means. We do have one letter of credit that's part of a counterparty deal of $3.75 million that goes away in June. But other than that, we are in the black, as you say, and we do draw down our line of credit from time to time, particularly in the middle of the month when our bills come due and receipts have not been received. But we pay that back immediately once we receive revenue.
That's very positive news. Glad to hear it.
Kaylin, do you just want to address the supporting document we passed out and how the public will be able to access that? It relates to a question from one of the committee members.
Yes, thank you. The documentation that was passed around will be uploaded as part of the packet or with the agenda on the CEA website. It'll be an additional attachment, and then I have a copy here in person as well.
Thank you for that. And with that, Member Dominguez, are you ready?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Dominguez, representative from Oceanside. A little background on the document, or like the lawyers say, foundation, is the document. I requested information on delinquent accounts of CEA customers, only the residential. And the document shows delinquent accounts between 31 and 60 days, 61 and 90, and then 90 plus. Just for your information, I received this document, I believe it was yesterday. And so the numbers, there's some aberration on the numbers, because if you look at the column that has numbers, they really don't add up to the total. The dollars add up, but the other ones do not. And I'm not sure why, but I will probably ask some questions to figure that out. So these are, my question really, or my question or concern is really two parts. One is the budget issue. These are delinquent accounts. Looks like there's a total of 11 million and change of monies that is owed to the CEA. And then there's closed accounts, which I'm assuming are going to be monies that have been written off, that they're not collectible, or they've been turned over to a collecting agency. And so my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the CEA is a nonprofit. Normally a corporation, if they lost money, they can carry their losses forward and claim them on their tax deductions. I don't know if the CEA, I'm not that familiar with how nonprofits work. But my question is that to me, 11 million and then 3 million for a total of 14 million is a significant number of monies that that the CEA either has not received or will not receive. And so is that accounted for in your budget presentation? And are we doing anything to shrink these numbers from a budget perspective? There is another piece to my question is there's the money cost and then there's the human cost, right? The human cost is a lot of these people may be in jeopardy of losing, having their power shut off, but I could address that in the rate piece of the presentation as to, you know, the human cost. So, or I could address it here. It all depends, whatever Madam Chair or the attorney suggests, and knock it all off at once. Because we should be working or looking at, you know, these numbers are kind of eye-opening to me. So that's a lot of accounts, and we should either be monitoring this to see if we're lowering the amounts, or we should be looking at programs or methodologies to see about lowering the amount of the delinquent accounts. So my question in this piece on the budget, what happens or where on these delinquent accounts, what happens to the money that's owed? Is it just written off, evaporated?
These accounts, if they are a certain number of days due, go to a collection agency, and so that's how they're handled. We work in coordination with our billing agent as well as SDG&E to make sure that we pursue collection of these delinquent accounts. And there are also payment plan options available through SDG&E to spread out the delinquent accounts. But at this point, that's how they're handled. And the success rate, I can't speak to. I don't know what the success rate is for retrieving these funds. I will say that in answer to your question about the totals not adding up, it's because that there are subsets of some accounts are multiple 31 and 60, they're all of those. And so they double up. So if you're 90 plus days delinquent, you're also 31 to 60 and you're also 61 to 90. And so they aren't meant to add up, but the total is the total. Not that this is not, I don't disagree that this is a fairly significant arrearage listing. It's not atypical for any CCA or other utility. However, I will point out that that total in dollar value is about 3.7% of our total revenues. So not insignificant, but certainly not something that is going to impact the bottom line. And to your other question, yes, we do factor this delinquency into our budget when we're doing our numbers.
And are we taking any action to try to reduce the number of delinquencies? I just have this one snapshot in time. I haven't looked at it over the course of time to determine a rate or a chart as to whether it's going up, it's going down. So I guess that begs the question, we track this, do you know if it's going up or going down? And what are the programs that we
I don't know
have?
that it's going up or going down, but we do track this. These are from our aging reports that we work with Calpine that they put together and provide to us. So yes, we do track this. We do not have a program as yet to actively go out and I guess, educate people about how not to be delinquent on their bills. That would be kind of a sizable effort, but to that question, we don't have any action, but we do commonly refer people to the programs that are in place that help people with accounts that are delinquent, folks who need payment plans. There are avenues available, or even reduction in their bills. So those are things we're approaching it from. We're also planning to do an outreach to our care and fair customers that we know are eligible for care and fair, because our belief is that there's an under-enrollment, at least in the FARA program, which would allow people to decrease their energy costs, and that hopefully would have an impact on arrearages and delinquent accounts.
Yes, that was going to be my next question about, there are programs at this point, there are programs to reduce your energy costs. You mentioned two. There's a third for medical devices that increases your baseline rate to a higher amount. So that means you get the cheaper rate for additional kilowatt hours. But it's good to hear that we're trying to make an effort to try to help people that are, what I like to say is, on the lower economic rungs of the ladder. I've learned that when you're at the 90-day plus, that's really a good indicator of someone that probably has 1 foot out the door for homelessness, because that's the last thing that people don't pay is their energy bill, because that means they have no refrigeration, they're sitting in the dark, no computer access. And so that's, a lot of cities use that as an indication to determine, what's the potential for people becoming homeless. Energy costs, I'm going to kind of slide into the human impact side of it, because no one said I
Hey,
couldn't.
Daniel, can I, just for the agenda item, so we're talking about the budget. We are going to put together a work plan and discuss some of the ways that we can make recommendations to the board, which I think is going to be on your topic of how do we help and serve and integrate with our communities that are struggling. I think, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but are you okay to bring that? Because really right now, we're really talking about the presentation is the second presentation from the board. It went to the board, now it's to the committee, just for information, and then to be able to do a Q&A on any budget items. So would you be okay with that, or is
Yes, I'm okay with it. That's why I asked at the onset, it's really two pieces here.
Two pieces, yeah.
Is the money piece coming into the CA, and the other piece is the human cost.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with talking about the human cost.
And we
during the
will be
breaks.
talking about that, because we're going to be talking about our role as a community advisory and what kind of suggestions we can make. So if I can ask you to hold that item, and we'll bring that up.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is that
I'll
okay?
cede the floor to anybody else that might have
Okay.
questions.
Does anybody have any questions about the budget that we can field right now? Okay. Yes, go, Joe.
This seems like a useful topic to continue to monitor. Would it be reasonable to ask for a report like this at our next meeting with more trend line data in it?
Are you referring to the budget or this information that was requested as a records request?
This information.
Well, we can certainly work with our board of directors. We assign the agenda based on direction from the board, and I can talk to our board members and the chair to see if that's something they believe would be of value to have the CAC look at.
Okay, thanks.
We want to stay in our lane. We don't want to get too far out of our lane. We do have a board of directors that's monitoring very tightly some of those issues that we talked about. So we'll be interested to see what Greg comes back with. So with that, if there's no further questions on the budget, we'll move to item 3.
Madam Chair, I do have
Go ahead.
one comment in relation to Representative, is it Hood? Representative Hood, is if we get the data, it would be good to know, since we all represent our respective cities, maybe a breakdown on what each city's arrearage is or delinquent account. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy?
I think we talked about last fall that we were going to maybe look at the premium rates and stuff for winter. that we were going to maybe adjust those? Is that part of this budget or is that another thing to come up later?
Thank you for the question. The rates have been established. So the rates were adjusted back in the fall prior to November 1. And those rates, the rates that are set aren't changing at this point.
All right, any other questions on the budget? All right, we will move on to item number 3, Energy Program Plan. Do we have any public comments on this item?
I don't have any public comments for item 2 or 3.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to introduce Caitlin McGee to give this presentation. Caitlin.
Good afternoon. I'm Caitlin McGee, the Accounts Program Manager here at Clean Energy Alliance, and I think we're ready for this fruitful discussion about the Energy Programs Plan and hopefully connecting it back to some work that CAC has done and as we look forward to this next fiscal year budget. So what is the Energy Programs Plan? This is a plan that we hope will outline the strategies and actions that CEA staff will employ to track, develop, and implement the energy programs that we plan to deploy over the next few years. And the why behind all of this is really making sure that we incorporate the community needs, we build strategic partnerships, and do the analysis to create recommendations for programs, pilot programs, and potentially some policies. So the goal of the program's plan is to promote clean energy adoption, enhance energy efficiency, foster equitable program design and impact, facilitate economic development, and increase awareness and participation. There's a bit of a process behind the development of this plan. So kind of the first phase, which we're working on now, is the baseline data analysis. We also have Olivia Vergeer here, who is our Civic Spark Fellow, who's been doing amazing work with all of the data analysis, so pulling information and public information from the Census Bureau, our customer data, usage information, and then also doing an inventory of existing programs at the local, state, federal level, what other CCAs are doing, and then trying to make a service list of our local organizations that we can potentially partner with in the future. So that's kind of the foundation, right? Where are we? What data do we have available? And then that's step 2 of the community engagement. So this week, we actually launched a community needs survey. We're working with an awesome local research firm called True North. They are doing a scientifically sound community survey over the next 2 weeks, I believe, and those results should be shared at the next board meeting. We will be planning a few community workshops to hopefully do some in-person engagement, and then also engaging the CAC and our board for input along the way. So the outcome, right, is to have this beautiful energy programs plan. We've created kind of this tool for looking at the business case for different programs, kind of using that programs inventory that we've created and dialing it into running some analysis on energy costs and how the cost to operate a program may compare. We will be creating kind of a program shortlist to be part of the plan and a framework that hopefully will overlay not only the cost to launch these programs and think about the reduction to our energy procurement or requirements, but also a little bit of that social factor. How many customers can we reach and what, subcategories, and try to overlay those different characteristics. And then we'll also create an implementation timeline, right? So a high overview of how to implement these programs over the next few years and the expected timeline for that. So to get the conversation started a little bit, I wanted to take some time to just recap the work that past CACs have done over the years through subcommittees. And so just briefly, and I don't need to read all these out, they were shared as an attachment in the agenda, but our 2023 recommendations that were shared were identify communities and populations in need, provide solar and storage to mobile home residents, and provide low, no interest loans for energy efficiency, green home improvements. 2023 recommendations continued, also included some prioritizing fast charging, coordinating with Electrify America, researching grants for chargers, and then school solar programs, a public school rate, and then an ambassador type program for climate action and partnership with CEA. And then for the 2024 recommendations, we also heard from the CAC that developing strategies to increase public awareness of the need for CCAs and opting up to 100% green impact, making Solar Plus and other programs available to residents in communities that may not have the infrastructure needed to support them, and then working with SDG&E to identify infrastructure upgrades. Continuing with the 2024 recommendations, we also heard engaging with public and private schools to opt up to 100% green impact, more on school outreach programs and the ambassador program, and then providing school resources for clean energy solutions. So with that, I wanted to open it up to a little bit of a guided discussion, right? We do have many CAC members in limited amount of time, but I did want to maybe start off with seeking some feedback from you all on what specific energy challenges do you feel like our community faces today? And some of these questions kind of overlap, right? But maybe we can start there. Linda?
Okay, this month, the Carlsbad Unified School System is switching all to green impact. You know that. That's a part of the resolution, right? And we hear that Encinitas School Systems is signing their resolution very soon. So there's two of our people. Vista is working on their resolution. So 3 of our partners will be upgrading to green impact. Just wanted you to know, because I work with the schools committee on the San Diego Building Electrification Committee, okay, coalition.
I have a question first. Was the survey that was sent out, that's incorporated into this item, is that right? The survey that went out to customers?
So the community survey is going out through email, text, and phone in both English and Spanish. It's randomized. It's not going to all of our customers, just to be 95% kind of confidence level in the survey process. We have posted on our website, information that this survey is happening. We hope people participate in the survey because sometimes it can, you want to be cautious. Is it a scam? Who is this company? All of that. So the results of that survey, when they are available at the end of this month, will be incorporated into the program's plan.
I just know I got some feedback from a couple of people. Some of that terminology is not defined in the survey. And so people don't know what resource adequacy is or PCIA. It's like, how am I supposed to answer the question? Just to let you know. Okay. And then, so community workshops are going to be scheduled. Is that what I hear?
Yes.
Okay.
2 things. We do have 2 surveys out at this time. There's a little bit of overlap. So we're closing the feedback period for our strategic plan, which is separate from this. That was a survey that was emailed out to folks that are on our distribution list.
Okay.
This survey is separate from that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And I do appreciate that feedback, by the way, and wanted to apologize that we probably could have done a better job in making the language in the survey you're referring to more commonplace and generalized. And that was something we didn't do. We were looking for input on already approved and directed and supported, board supported objectives of the strategic plan in that survey. We still got some good response,
Okay.
but we could have done better to make it more, I guess, layperson friendly. So I appreciate that comment. But this, again, this survey is an official survey that's going out. It's randomized. This is separate. This is on the energy programs, but they will support each other in terms of the information provided.
So the one that's on the website now, when you open up the web page, the homepage,
Right.
that's the survey you're talking about?
No, that's the strategic plan survey.
So who's getting the survey that you're talking about?
It's randomized.
Okay, thank you.
But it's for residential and commercial customers, so we get a broad spectrum of account holders and what their objectives are and interests are.
Okay, so I'll ask another question. So addressing the questions that you have up there, I think a big issue, and you hear it from the board members, is just the rate, the rates that everyone's paying. And so I think that's a huge issue that we have to address, even though want to get up to that 100% goal, but I think it's killing a lot of people.
Okay. Caitlin? Yeah, I just was wondering, does the survey ask some of the more basic questions about people's understanding of what a CCA is and what the advantages are over SDG&E and that? Because we're finding, Jazz and I were just talking about this, that there are still people, not a lot, fortunately, who are with SDG&E and they see the rates as being somewhat comparable to what we're offering, and they don't necessarily get the benefits. And I think it relates partly to the whole relatively new concept of CCAs and not understanding really that the organization and that they've been successful and all of that. So
Yeah, in the survey, we do have, some basic demographic questions, some on kind of understanding if you are a CCA customer and what programs are available, and then also what customers are looking for is kind of the general sense.
I'd like to expand our thinking a little bit, or propose that anyway. One of the clear, to me, energy concerns that our community has now and will have in an ever increasing way over the next decades is excessive heat. There's a tool, this is just an example, there's a tool called Heat Map, where you basically pick a hot day, drive around the city, and measure temperature and humidity throughout the entire community on the same day. And surprisingly, it's common to find different neighborhoods to have a 10-degree difference. In Reno, they actually measured a 32-degree difference between communities. Well, if you're 10 degrees hotter, I'm going to guess that you're living, relatively speaking, in an EJ community, and your income is likely lower because you have less tree cover, et cetera. And your bill then is proportionately higher because of where you live. And so what I'm suggesting is we need to think about working with the cities to build heat maps to understand where the excessive heat is worse, and then to partner with cities to work on cooling measures. And in particular, especially serious heat times, hot times, we need cooling venues. Whether they're school buildings or, like a movie theater that might be particularly cool. We need to be thinking in these social terms, I believe, and therefore that translates directly into heat. One of the large brokerage houses this week said they are really bullish on air conditioning business over the next period of time, which is another way of sort of saying what I'm saying. And I think it would be wise for us and the community and for CEA to be thinking of ways of partnering with the city to help us address the climate change heating phenomenon that we are experiencing and that's about to get worse.
Kind of a segue, that when this question always comes to me, specific energy challenges is reliability. And when everybody's fine until the lights go off, and then everybody's in a scramble or a brownout or whatever it might be. So to me, I mean, the number one is always going to be finances, especially if you don't have the money or you're very limited with how much money you have to pay for it. But it's also the reliability of it. You mentioned earlier, when the lights go out, people move out. And the cost of everything else that goes along with it, whatever food you have in your refrigerator and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how the CEA can address that, but it's not really a CEA issue. We purchase the energy and we sell it to the customer. It's the SDG&E issue of reliability that we're paying so much on our distribution charge. I don't know what the answer is to that. But to me, specifically, the energy challenges I have is rolling brownouts, blackouts, or whatever, and they're coming this summer as everything gets warmer, as we know, the climate change, right? And people are going to be demanding more power, but we need to either get more storage or generate more or all of the above. So that's just the question I have. If anybody's asking me, it's reliability, especially during the summer.
And more storage and more local solar.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just go along with that, putting storage in people's houses directly helps them with that. And that's why I really like the Solar Plus storage program that we have, because it's providing to householders exactly what they need to be more reliable, more independent, and reduce their bills. So I think that's a good part of it. One of the other things that you were bringing up about the heat problem is, there's a push to electrify homes. And it really works well because you take out a gas-fired furnace, put in a heat pump, and you get heating and air conditioning, which particularly places like Oceanside, most of the houses weren't built with air conditioning. And so by doing that one electrification step, you're providing them something that makes the houses much more comfortable into the future, as well as getting rid of the natural gas use. So,
And to add to that, Santa Barbara is in the process, the Santa Barbara region, of building a substantial regional community microgrid, which covers more than single-family homes. And I think we should be looking at a community microgrid to help with the issues we're talking about.
I used to belong to an organization called AEUW. This consists of everybody who's retired, who's a woman who has a degree. And I found that they didn't realize, so they weren't choosing CEA because they thought that their special medical programs weren't covered. And I've looked at our website and nowhere does it say, don't worry, if you have sleep apnea and you use your machine all night, we have a special program for you. And when I told a couple of people that, they changed immediately to CEA, they had opted out originally. Is there somehow on our website we can add that and say that your medical programs, that SDG&E covers the reduced rate, we do as well?
Well, okay, let me back out a little bit. What is that purpose to doing this survey and researching? Could you just, what do you expect to find it? And how you are going to use that so their basic research results? That's one of the question. And another one is in terms of the urban heat and residential area, maybe increasing that. So addressing the issue of the heat in a city, there are lots of cities around here already published CAP, Climate Action Plan. And for example, Solana Beach, they are including that urban canopy type programs. So that's probably address some issues about urban heat. So just so you know, you may want to look at that city's CAP and how they are going to address it.
As far as the community needs survey, I think when you look at our community engagement approach, we have a bit of qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. So we did as much as we could with our census data, our customer data. You can kind of come to some conclusions that there's income disparities across cities, higher participation in certain programs across cities, and just looking at different demographic indicators from what's publicly available. So we've taken a look at that. But the idea behind the community needs survey is to dig deeper into the energy piece of it. So with this survey, we'll be able to tap into some of that demographic data again, right? Reaffirming that the census data is in alignment with what comes back with the survey, right? The income, the household makeups, but also being able to tie that into more specifics of what programs those households think would be most beneficial to them, what concepts are they familiar with, what incentives are they familiar with. So it's helping us get just more detail that we can use in the development of the energy programs plan. So we'll use all that data, and then it will help us inform the programs shortlist that I mentioned, which programs we should hopefully prioritize over the next couple of years, but then also help us think about the prioritization framework, right? Based on this data, are we simply going to prioritize every program based on our procurement costs, or should we include some of these social indicators that we got back from the survey?
I would just want to ask is, you're asking us on the number one question is, what challenges do you feel the community faces today? So you're asking for our input on that to run survey. Well, for me, that's no brainer. It's energy costs. Energy costs are climbing, and they're predicted to keep climbing. I think the average California utility rate has gone up like 17% over so many years. And it all depends too in the service area. I think PG&E was requesting like 20-something% increase, and it's going to continue probably for the next 20, 30 years. So you think your bill's high now, wait till they start implementing, because the grid is a finite resource. Electricity is a finite resource, and we want to electrify everything, and that's great. But I've sat in a power plant with the Energy Control Center screaming on the phone saying they want me to push more VARs because the grid is, the voltage and the frequency are bouncing around like crazy. And so once you lose the grid, that's catastrophic. You're not going to get it back in a few minutes. Could take days, could take weeks. But they're projecting to reach the goals that we want to reach in California, billions of dollars in additional costs. And so the CEA can't do really nothing about it. This is all the PUC and stuff. But as I said earlier, I spent 40 years in the utility business, but I wasn't a shill for the utility companies. I spent 40 years battling them at the PUC in Sacramento and DC. And one of the pushes, and you're hearing some voices, is to move, the original charter of the PUC was to allow utilities a return for the cost of service. We've added a bunch of programs. There's a nascent push now to move some of this wildfire protection over to the tax base, because the tax base is progressive. Utility rates are about as regressive as you can get. So there's voices raising that we should move some of this stuff because it's for the public good. It should be paid out of the tax rate or the tax base. However, that'll be a tough sell because To increase utility rates, you just need 3 votes from a 5-member commission. To increase taxes, you need voter approval. So energy costs, probably they're at top of my list, and they're top of the list of the community I talk to, because I'm the chair of the Fair Practices Commission, Manufactured Housing Fair Practices, which has rent control over all the mobile home parks in Oceanside, 17 of them. And we have individuals in these parks surviving on $1,500 a month for Social Security. So any kind of increase is catastrophic for them. So with that, those are my comments.
And one of the largest costs that we get to cover are SDG&E's long-distance transmission lines and their big capital investments, which says one of the things we need to do locally is as much as possible local generation, microgrids and community solar. CEA should be leading the charge, in my opinion, to absolutely maximize local generation, and with a goal to use as little of SDG&E's energy as possible.
Real quick, I think do you need to have a little bit of a time check here? I know we have another item after this, so maybe another 10 to 15 minutes on this topic and we'll get through all these questions, but go ahead.
Okay, well, just on the, as an approach to doing what you're talking about, microgrids, more local production, I think it's one of the North California coast CEAs or CCAs up there. They presented at the CCA conference a year or so ago about how they created a microgrid around their airport, and they put solar on it, they put batteries in, and then they bought the wires back up to the substation level so that that whole microgrid could operate on its own without the utility. And I see that as a model that CEA could use to kind of from the outside edges in, buy the grid parts we need so that we can keep things behind the meter, essentially, so that we wouldn't be paying SDG&E to deliver the energy from our battery to our houses. And that's a way I see of progressing in that direction, because I agree, as long as we have SDG&E paying for transmission lines across the desert, we're never going to have lower rates in San Diego. The only way we can do it is with local production, local storage.
I'd like to add one more. It's a little bit off, another stretch in our thinking. Marin Community Energy has a program that's built off of community impact bonds. And it deals with, and specifically the first implementation is Richmond, where there's a lot of deteriorated housing. And they take the bond money and rehab, this is a grant initially, rehab homes and then sell those homes only to low-income people. And they're fully electric and they all have microgrids in the homes and so forth. And as the home loans get paid back, then the pool of those payments continue to replenish the Community Impact Bond Fund. And so they're able to take properties in disrepair in the community and tie it into the CEA program. And why don't we apply for a community impact bond baseline set of money that we can then use to further expand, especially the need for housing, and focused on low income folks. So I think it's a fabulous program and is working brilliantly. Easy to copy, I should think.
I I'm getting the sense that the Solar Plus program that we have had running for at least a year now doesn't have a huge enrollment. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes. We haven't aggressively marketed it
Okay.
for a variety of reasons, but that's fair to say.
And some of the concerns that we're hearing about, your own little microgrid or whatever is solar plus storage could benefit from that program. I don't think we are out communicating with the community enough about those programs. So whatever outreach, whether it's like door hangers or going door to door and knocking on people's doors to let them become aware of the programs might be beneficial. So it's an outreach issue.
I was just going to concur about that. The one that's in Vista is my neighbor. So, the only outreach was me when she complained about not having solar. I'm like, try them. And she talked to them that very day. And I think 6 months later, it was up and running. Yeah. So.
Is there a reason why we hasn't been promoted that aggressively, or is that going to change or not?
There's a couple of reasons. At first, and still, we're making sure that the program is running efficiently. We wanted it to be an user-friendly experience, and so we wanted to slow roll this program to make sure that we've worked out the glitches. We also have a bandwidth challenge. We have 6 full-time employees managing, 250,000 accounts. So that's a challenge, and we are hopefully expanding staff here soon. So those are the primary reasons. And then simply, I think there's been a challenge with, to be honest, I think there's been a challenge. We had quite a few applicants enroll but then back out, and we're not sure if that's because our primary offering is a Tesla battery project, and so we think there's some potential impact of recent events that is impacting that. Yeah. I can't say that's exclusively the reason, but we do get a lot of applicants that apply and then for a variety of reasons back out. It is also a heavily impacted arena. I'm temporarily living at my brother's, and I can count on 2 hands the number of solar companies that have come to my door. And so I think there's also maybe some resistance to these programs. That's just speculation, but those are some of the reasons. But, again, I think our objective is to more aggressively market these, particularly when we get our channel partners on board. And now that we also have a program that can assist lower income folks, I think we want to make sure that when we do a full-blown marketing approach, that we're not leaving people out.
Just, can I ask a quick question? Whenever you get anything from SDG&E, it's got a big blurb in there about how wonderful SDG&E is. But does CEA get a chance to put things into billing envelopes? Can we send something along in the monthly billing envelope?
Not, they're resistant to that. So our portion of the billing is smaller. We have been working with SDG&E and along with SDCP to modify their billing. SDG&E is currently working on changing their physical bill. They've updated their website, their front-facing portal to My Energy Center, which we worked with them on to make it clearer to people as to what their costs are going to. And they are moving forward into trying to apply that same clarity on the portal-facing bill to their paper bill. However, at the same time, they, at a point last year, tried to move forward in proceeding in through an advice letter, I believe, terminating their physical billing and going to for new enrollees, all electronic, and that was resisted by us and others because of the equity question there. And so they are trying to make improvements to that, but to the question, unless I'm mistaken, and Caitlin, maybe you can answer, we don't have the opportunity to do inserts into the SDG&E bill.
We have a very small corner of the bill with a specific set of characters that is typically filled with
Yeah,
our
just a
privacy
little-
policy.
Little thing about that
Mhm.
big. I just want to make a comment. I think the consensus is that the cost of energy is a real problem for our community in general on all fronts. But it also, if you looked at the numbers of the enrollment of our cities, we have like less than 100, I think, in most of our cities. We're in the full, opt all the way up. So clearly, we haven't moved the needle on a homeowner who wants to go the extra mile and they want to go there with us. So I don't know where that would land because I feel like you're doing a lot of social media work, you're doing a lot of marketing work, we've got a lot of information on the website, but I just don't feel like there's a lot of movement there. And I think it's for a lot of reasons that we talked about here. It's expensive. You don't get the same benefits you used to get on, solar. Our administration in Washington is looking differently at clean energy, pushing coal. Our state is pulling back on electric buses. I mean, there's just a lot of movement right now. So it's a very confusing space, I think, for our customers and our community. So I don't know where the magic bullet is. I think that's the next question, is how we would impact that. But I think on so many levels, it's just a moving target, and we're just not getting the products, I think, because we've got a provider, a deliverer of the energy still involved and causing us not to be able to get where we want to in terms of our efficiency and what we offer in terms of cost. So I think that's a summary. There's probably more. With that, I think you have more questions, correct?
I do. So I'm hearing affordability, reliability, heat maps and partnering with our member cities, and also distribution costs, education. And then within that conversation, I did hear a few ideas on how to address those challenges and how CEA can do that.
Concerned that, the opportunity for grants might start to diminish as well, like what we've been looking to offer some of our programs and to supplement, that what we would offer. I think there's some concern about the availability of those funds in the future as well. And that's just not federal, that's state as well.
So it sounds like to me that the efficiency is important. So they are moving the target, and also staff member time, staff numbers are limited, but still needs to roll out programs to as many as people as possible. That really sounds like to me that that's where probably that survey and research might come to be very helpful to prioritize where you need to spend more energy and money on, and where which part can be wait a little longer. So it just sounds like to me that, so it's finally, at least in my brain, why you are doing this research and gathering the information and analyze it. And so it's finally, at least in my brain, coming together. So that in order to address this moving target complex issue, and so in order to increase the efficiency of the service. So that's basically that they'll get learning about what kind of people living around here, what they need, what they want, and what kind of issue they are facing, all kinds of things. You need to know that. So is that kind of fair to say?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
So any ideas on how or what the role of CEA is in addressing some of these challenges, right? Affordability is complex. There's a lot of actors, as an example. I think you were pretty clear with the heat map feedback. So maybe if there's any ideas on CEA's role in addressing these challenges?
I touched on it earlier. It'll be very short because I'm looking at the time and we're like maybe over budget on time. The CEA could lend its voice to, as I said, there's a nascent movement to focus back to cost of service for electrical rates, and then move some of these other programs into the tax base. But it's got to be a movement, and the CEA probably could lend its voice to that movement.
Hire someone to partner with the climate action plan teams for every city. Participate in the climate action plan development. Heating is going to drive energy, and participating in trying to in defining programs that will bring us cooling instead of heating would be invaluable.
I forget what I was going to say, sorry.
Okay, just for the sake of time, maybe we can squeeze in a couple comments just on if there's any topics or ideas that this group thought were missing from recommendations in 2023 and 2024.
Well, at all the tabling that we're doing for Earth Month, okay, could we have some literature that clearly helps? I mean, so many people in Oceanside opted out. I mean, more than any of the other cities, it seems. And I don't think they understand the benefits. If you care about the environment, like something that says, are you an environmentalist? Do you care about climate change? And then say, if you do, you need to opt up to green impact. I mean, something like that to advertise to people when we're tabling. I don't know. We have to educate these people that it's better for the environment if they pay a couple of extra dollars a month to get green impact, which means only clean energy.
We did touch on, I think, member Simo mentioned earlier, the education piece, and having that part of any of these programs that we're offering. So if you are not knowledgeable about solar or battery or whatever, you can have an entree into that opportunity that will help you understand and make some evaluation about whether it's a good choice for you. Right now we offer programs, but there's a gap between bringing a new adopter in that would be able to come to speed pretty quickly with enough information to make the right decisions for them or their family, or their business. So I think I think the CEA still through grants or other has a role in educating and connecting with our public.
I think that some of our social media messaging could be more informative, more compelling. And I think that you still have a consultant who handles the social media? Okay. Because once you get to the point where you hire someone to oversee that, I think it will probably be a lot more effective, because you really need to be collaborating to grow your audience. And they're just like, if you look at San Diego Community Power, now I know they have a lot more money and they're well-staffed, but in order to really grow your audience on social media, you need to go reach out and collaborate with others. You can't just post stuff. And a lot of people think, well, I'll just post it on social media and that'll be it. Well, that's, and especially when you're somewhat challenged by the limitation in terms of images. You're not a museum or something where you've got these images to, but factoids as well could be used to increase awareness. And once you build up the audience through collaboration, it's a lot easier to achieve. And now, is our primary audience really millennials? I don't know. I mean, but that's an important audience, I would say. And I haven't really looked at the Facebook page recently, but there could be something similar going on there. And I think that I understand why you have the consultant doing this, but when you have somebody local, they know the community and they're able to sort of work with people and collaborate with others and reach out and build because that's the only way you can, you can really spread a message effectively. So that's one thing I would say that I think could be done that would be more compelling. And maybe, we've looked at these issues before in the subcommittee that on, going green by going 100% green impact by 2035. And these are challenges that all really virtually all of the CCAs have had for a while. Even Marin County has a relatively low participation rate in 100% green impact, which is kind of surprising, but for all the reasons that have been mentioned. So the only other thing I would mention too, and I don't know, in the communications realm, would it be helpful to develop a set of talking points that the CAC members could use so that we're all sort of speaking from the same page? And obviously would need to be updated on a regular basis. And for certain issues, we could add to it. Some of it might be on your FAQ, but we don't necessarily think of looking at the FAQ, and because we get a lot of questions from people. And it could be used for the board too, if they're so interested.
We have a copy of the talking points right here. If you want to look at them. We talked about this before, Dolores. I don't know if it's a couple of years ago or whatever, but maybe that's kind of a format that we could use.
Yeah, but talking points really should be dynamic.
Yeah.
They're not, they're done, we don't need to touch them. They're not engraved in stone.
Yeah.
And they need to be well circulated, and we need to be given a little bit of guidance or direction about how we want to use, how CEA wants us to use them. Like I know there are problems with social media, with us responding directly. Sometimes we're going to get, if we were to get media calls or we see a media opportunity, we'd probably send that to CEA. And so I think it's got to be kind of a strategy that's implemented. And it's great if I haven't even seen those. So.
And I'm not suggesting those in particular, but some format.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that it's dynamic, and I don't know, we're going to talk about ad hoc committees coming up. I don't know if that would be, I was going to say, this is just a brainstorming idea, but, we talk about our customers as customers, and technically they're basically members. They have decided, to choose an alternative way or alternative price point and purchase point for their energy use. And I think that we would have a better position with our customers if we brought them in and believe they were members of the Clean Energy Alliance. Like that's a much stronger way to be involved and feel like you're committed to, your city's climate action goals and things like that. So I don't know, but I just think if we are customers and SDG&E is customers, we're putting us on a parity line, and we really are going into new territory with what we're offering and the way that it's being utilized in our community. And now that we're going to have some of these other opportunities. So just a little nugget there. Okay. Are you almost done or you have more?
I think we're going to have to wrap it up. We have a hard stop at 3 here and 2 more agenda items, but I appreciate the fruitful discussion and all the great feedback.
Okay. And I just remember we're going till 3. I know everybody's got stuff going on, so we're going to move pretty quickly. I don't think there's any public comments for item number 4, the rate premiums discussion.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Well, hopefully this will be some good news. So we have been looking at, with our portfolio manager, PEA, and staff, looking at our product rate premiums. I reported to you in meetings past that we wanted to make sure that the premiums we were charging for the Green Impact product and for Clean Impact Plus were covering the cost for that product. That's actually a requirement of our covenants with JP Morgan, our creditor. So we've been doing that, and in last fall, particularly with the increased or the high cost of renewable energy last year, we were looking in the fall at premiums that would have exceeded their current levels. And just as a reminder, as you see right here, we have 3 products: Clean Impact, which is that's what our base rate is set to. Clean Impact Plus, which is our base rate plus 0.1 cents per kilowatt hour. And then Green Impact, the 100% renewable product, is our base rate plus 0.75 cents per kilowatt hour. And as I mentioned, our concern would be that as we increase our RPS as a total agency through the next several years, meeting the state target of 60% renewable in 2030, and then beyond to 100% in 2035, the cost of that energy is going to go up higher than these premiums potentially would provide for. So the next slide that I'll show you shows the renewable and carbon-free energy prices, how they've increased since these rates were set, but recently how they've decreased, which is the good news. As energy costs are going down dramatically from the prior year, settling back into pre-2024 rates, and I'll show you that. That's what this looks like. So you can see the chart on the left shows our renewable energy at January 2023, 2022 rather, 2023, and then last year you can see the jump up to exceedingly high, $80 per megawatt hour. And then you can see where we are today. We're even lower than we were in May of last year. So that's good news. And then on our large hydro, which is not a renewable product, but it is carbon free, and it contributes to our highest 25% carbon free product in our Clean Impact Plus product. You can see that it's also dropped back down, not as low as it was in May of 2023, but still quite a bit lower than last year. So translating that to what our costs are, you can see this little box on the right. It might be a little bit difficult for you to read, but Green Impact customers are at 100% renewable, which is 50% more than the Clean Impact rate. So if you take 50% more renewable energy times the average $20 megawatt hour for renewable energy cost premium, that's about $10 per megawatt hour, which is about 1 cent per kilowatt hour, which is slightly higher than our current 0.75 cents. So just for a frame of reference. In doing this analysis, because the costs are where they are today, if you look at the next slide, our proposed rate premium discussion has really changed into a rate design discussion. And what we'd recommend is that because most of our customers are at the Clean Impact Plus rate, we would recommend setting that as our base rate, and that would include 1 cent per kilowatt hour adder. Clean Impact, the 50% renewable, would then receive a credit of 0.34 cents per kilowatt hour. That would actually be a better reduction than we currently see for that product. Slightly, not a lot, but better. And then the Green Impact would stay virtually the same at 0.65 cents per kilowatt hour, understanding that that's above what we're already establishing as the new base rate at our Clean Impact Plus. So as you can see in the bill impact of our TOUDR1 rate, no change to our current Clean Impact Plus and Green Impact customers, and a slight benefit for our Clean Impact customers. So that's where we've ended up. I will say this is dynamic, so this could change, but we are working with Calpine to implement this, assuming the board approves it. We're taking this to the board this month to get their feedback. The Risk Oversight Committee of the board has recommended this structure, and we look to implement this later in the calendar year because it does take some rate work to work through our data systems. So this is where we are. Again, the good news here is that renewable energy costs have come down dramatically from last year after a dramatic increase. And so that is good news. We're seeing that in the market today, and we hope to be we are doing a hedge solicitation for energy this month, and then we plan to roll out another request for proposals for renewable energy, and we're going to focus that on non-solar and battery storage because we really want to see some other projects like wind and geothermal, and hopefully there are some out there that will respond to our proposal or request for proposals. So we can broaden our portfolio and provide that for our customers. So that concludes that part of the presentation.
I think that's good news. Go ahead, Paige.
First of all, just confirm, are we doing setting rates about once a year? Is that?
Actually, no. We try, one of the things we try to maintain is rate stability. So the rates we set last fall that were decided upon during our last budget cycle are in place for this foreseeable future. So we're not planning to adjust rates. This would be a rate setting hearing when we do take this step, because we would be modifying the rate design and structure, but it would have the practical impact of decreasing the rate on the 50% renewable side and remaining the same for the other two at this point.
And SDG&E changes rates at their whim, right?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
they're likely to change rates
The other
again.
thing is there any concern on the clean impact being presented as a discount from the baseline that a lot of people are going to drop down?
We don't view it that way. That's just, I mean, I think for the challenges that have been talked about that are the same as trying to get people to opt up to 100%, we still have the same challenges for opting down. I will say our sister agency, SDCP, did a similar approach and did not see that kind of impact on their customer base. So we're not too concerned about that. We think this, and it's such a minor benefit, if you will, but it is a benefit.
Dan Dominguez, Oceanside representative. The rates, my recollection at the board meeting, I think it was last month, they did a presentation on the power charge and difference adjustment. And my recollection is when energy prices went down, the power charge and difference charge went down. And if my assumptions are correct, that rate reduction, is that take into account the PCIA, or is that a separate amount?
Thank you for the question. It's a separate discussion. You generally have the right idea. The PCIA is really reflected from market price benchmarks, which is the price, general price of energy on the market. This is just strictly the rate, the base rate. So the PCIA is factored in above that. I will say that at the present moment, most customers during the winter rates right now are enjoying a slight benefit when you factor in the PCI, even with the PCIA and our rates, monthly bill reduction. Most of our customers are on the residential TOU DR1 side, but that is a separate element. There's currently a proceeding going on at the PUC that will potentially change how the market price benchmark is calculated. Actually, it will change it. We're not sure how that's going to turn out. Obviously, we are advocating quite strongly with CalCCA and SDCP and all the CCAs for a new calculation that makes sense for us and for our customers. But that has yet to be determined, and we'll keep you posted as that happens. But right now, we're seeing negative PCIAs for all our customers currently, and a bill savings as a result.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And again, I think it's good news, and thanks for all the work. We are moving to our last agenda item. We are on a 3 o'clock hard stop. So this is going to be quick. The item is the 2025 work plan discussion and possible ad hoc CAC subcommittee formation. Do we have the list of ad hoc committees from the last meeting?
I do have the list. We discussed the formation of 2 possible subcommittees, one being community communication and the second being integrated battery storage.
Okay. Are there any other items? Go ahead.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. So just a little background about why we're discussing this.
Typically, the subcommittees would be formed on an ad hoc basis to accomplish a specific work plan item that the board had given you all. So this was put on the agenda to tie the ideas you had from the last meeting to one of the work plan items and then set a specific directive for the subcommittee so that it could be an ad hoc subcommittee, and then you would want to vote on forming it. So
Okay.
that's just where we're going.
Yeah, and can I ask you about the timeline for this? Because we have 3 minutes. So I'm just like, is this something we can table? And because looking at the work plan, I didn't see where the committee reports were on our work plan. So and I guess I'm looking to you, Kaylin. We may have some ideas, but in formulating and coming up with the other pieces that you suggested, I don't think we're going to get there in the time that we have for today. So my question is, could we push the committee formation to our next meeting in June and still have enough time to have those committees meet, assemble their recommendations to the board and get them to the board? Because I don't know what happens after October 9th. Is that,
Well,
what's the next date?
of course, we can table it.
Okay.
The one idea that staff had was on community communications subcommittee.
Yes.
That ties in very nicely with social media marketing feedback. So if the commission wanted to form that ad hoc subcommittee to focus on providing social media marketing feedback,
Okay.
you could do that either this meeting.
And the other
or
one
in the
was
June
battery
meeting.
storage programs. Go ahead, Joe, sorry.
Could I suggest battery storage be changed to something like evaluating the impact of distributed energy resources, which include battery but aren't as narrow as battery? Yeah, well, distributed energy resources, microgrids, virtual power plants, the things we've been talking about today.
Yeah. Okay. Did you get that, Kaylin?
So what the committee, I would suggest the committee do is take a work plan item. And if you want to form a subcommittee, form it around the work plan item and then articulate what that is and vote to form it.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. This is the communication. And I think we did find something within the work plan about evaluating social media and communications and CEA communications.
Yes, Chair, can I add, when staff, we were discussing the possible formation and how to best utilize these subcommittees in regards to the social media marketing feedback. I heard a lot of feedback regarding marketing for the Solar Plus and various topics today. So we're aiming to hopefully assign one of our staff members to be the point of contact for these committees. And then initially, the subcommittee would be able to meet with one of our key account program managers and discuss what types of marketing you would like to do, potentially come up with a script or some sort of marketing campaign to then go ahead and utilize to market one of the, say, a program or whatever else you would
Yeah,
like.
so
to
they'd be a
focus.
feedback, basically ad hoc feedback group to staff.
So
right?
would
It's
that
the
need
staff
to-
job. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. So with that kind of an arrangement where we would work directly with staff, which is, I think, a great idea, would we then still have to have the work done by the end of the year? Or could that continue if it's a different kind of ad hoc committee, or is it?
So an ad hoc subcommittee has to be formed for a specified purpose of limited duration, no longer than a year.
Okay.
And if you're talking about doing it for social media, that's on the agenda for August. So the subcommittee would want to come back and report to the whole commission.
So it could
in
go
August
on
meeting.
into next year, just as long as it
No.
doesn't exceed the,
Not if you're coming back for an August meeting.
okay, okay. All right, well, I mean, I would certainly be willing to work on that or chair it if, unless Jazz, I know you brought up the communication.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up was because I felt that there wasn't a lot of clear information out in the community, and what I have seen myself has been very confusing. And I think part of the reason
And it ties in with the education piece that really, sometimes people need information to make informed decisions. And when they can't get that clearly, they either put it aside or the ones that are really interested will go figure it out, but most people just won't.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'd be willing to serve on the committee. I
Okay.
think general communication is in there, and so.
Yeah, well, and I think that besides the social media, also energy program plan feedback too is probably relevant. So those two really, maybe that, one is relating to more communications, kind of strategic communications, as opposed to just social media. But we could figure that, we could map that out and then see if that's,
So
acceptable.
Dolores, so what we need is a committee, and then we need to vote on that committee to make it our ad hoc committee. So
Yeah.
since that, we have two of you already, I think that was an agreement to participate. Does anybody else want to serve on that committee? You'll be working directly with staff.
I just want, are you focusing on social media, right?
Well, I think maybe we could map out a little bit more than that, but then it would have to be determined that it was an acceptable scope of work. I mean, I think our feeling is that it's social media, but it's also communications in other modes of communication.
Well, if it's broader than social media, I'll join it.
Specifically.
What?
If it's broader than social media, I'll join.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope that it'd be broader because I think social media is just too narrow to kind of make the impact that I think needs to be made.
Okay, so I think we have the start of an ad hoc committee.
I'd be interested in joining.
Okay, so we have Nancy, Jazz, Paige, and Dolores, and now we'd like to take a vote. Can I do that at this point?
Yes, what I would recommend you do is solicit a motion to form an ad hoc subcommittee on the social media marketing feedback of those members, as well as table the rest of the item to the next meeting.
Okay. You're going to move?
I'll make that motion that we form this committee for communication, outreach, and social media, and that we table the other ad hoc committee to the next meeting.
Okay, and can I get a second on the motion? All in favor?
Okay, so tell me again, who are the members? I mean, Jazz and Paige,
And Nancy.
Nancy.
You volunteered to head it.
Oh, and Linda. Linda.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Linda is volunteering too.
Who does?
Linda, right here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so with that motion, go
Madam
ahead, Daniel.
Chair, just a point of order.
Yes,
Is you asked for the yays, you should ask for nays and abstentions for
okay.
the
I
record.
do that. I didn't know we were taking a roll call, but all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. I believe that motion included tabling the additional ad hoc can we put at the beginning of the meeting possibly to kind of nail that when we get started? Okay, so with that, I don't think I need a motion to adjourn, actually. I think we can adjourn without that. The meeting is adjourned at 3:03 PM. Thank you guys for everything. Nice discussion today.
More on my list.